Hey gang, welcome to Sketchin with Izzy. I was caught up in this quick loose sketch here. How y'all doing? Welcome. Hey, thanks for the follow, DJ Ultra Tom. Avid, welcome, welcome. Can y'all hear me all right? Just do a quick sound check. I think I see my levels are working. Thanks all for being here. I know it's Lightbox weekend, so man, there's so much stuff to watch. It's so exciting. I've been just soaking it all up. I haven't done so many Twitch follows in my life. I hope that it like sticks, that a lot of these people keep their shows going. Everybody doing all right? We've got the fires going on up here, which is absolutely crazy cakes. The sky's all messed up still. Yeah. So we're just I was just figuring I'd do some more sketching today. If it goes blood flower, great. If not, no big loss. Just have fun and hang out. Do some drawing. I saw a couple of the panels for Lightbox had that magma.io drawing share app thing. We got to try that sometime, gang. That's going to be fun. I'll have to figure out how to set it up. I didn't have enough time to really explore it too deeply yet, but I think that'll be a cool sort of random session to do now and then. Been soaking up the knowledge. Nice. Yeah, it's because it's so passive, it's not quite as interactive as actually being there at the event. It's definitely not the same. It's been cool, but it's not the same. I loved meeting everybody, hanging out. There's just nothing that can really compare to the in-person effect. But I think they did a pretty good job regardless. I'm gonna go straight to liquefy because it's super rough still, so why not? Hopefully this doesn't crash the machine. I had 2 blue screens of death before starting, like 10 minutes before going live. So, fingers crossed, gang. Miserable shit. Well, I think I'm just gonna have to do like a complete fresh reinstall of everything, because there's a driver in there just gumming up the works. And I cannot figure out which one it is. Yeah, hopefully we'll have it next year in person. I don't know. I'm not holding out hope that we're gonna get through this thing before the end of 2021, but it would be great if we could. What were your favorite panels? You guys see anything really great? I loved watching Carla. That was awesome. I watched Peter. The expedition art. I missed the. I did want to catch the illustrated novel one because it's pertinent to what we're doing in here, but I missed it, or it's going on right now. I'm not entirely sure. I've been too busy today. All I know is it was supposed to be today. I do think most of this stuff is going to be recorded for posterity or has been recorded for posterity, so I'll have to set up a day to watch it. Opening up, startup, and turning off everything non-essential. Yeah, I'm almost positive it's to do with the video card. I've been having problems with it for a while. I stupidly went online and I got one of those. It's like a driver manager thing, and I installed that, and then it started installing drivers like crazy, and ever since everything's been wonky. So. Yeah, I have no idea. I did the safe mode restart and all that stuff. The diagnostic tools I've got they're not sufficient. So it is what it is for now, until I can get like a couple of days to just sit and reinstall everything. Gonna have to keep dealing with it. So what do you think? You guys prefer watching me paint creatures or characters? I've done both now. Any preferences? Worry Warlord, welcome. Creatures are more fun. That's true. I think there's a lot to that. I think also, well, with figures in general, I think they're interesting for people because it's such a struggle in getting likenesses and getting the feel right. I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag. I love designing creatures, but I have a feeling that if I was only doing that, it would kind of wear thin for me. I just need variety. I'm just one of those dudes when it comes to the artwork. I like tackling different problems. I think it's funny how whenever I start a character, it always looks comic booky in the beginning, and then kind of it'll get a little more painterly over time. I think probably part of that is my line art itself. If we knock that back a little bit, maybe that'll ease this up for me. You prefer the full illustrations over the sketches? Oh, that's cool. You wanting to get into doing like magic art or something like that? Splash art, riot, that kind of thing? It's a fun gig. No complaints, my man. I'm going to do a full multiply layer, and I'm actually going to just glaze this whole thing down. I feel like I got enough value information to start getting into color right now. Why not? Why not? You're not the boss of me. Shut your face. Not riot or splash. Yeah, that's some insane ass rendering that they do. Card art, Hearthstone, and MTG. Cool. Just gonna start pooping some colors in there, because why not? I've been doing so much more fantasy, and I mean Bloodflower is kind of historical fantasy, lately. I've been aching to do some sci-fi like cyberpunk shit, but it's too soon. I gotta keep riding this wave. But I'm seeing myself just even with this, I'm like, oh, I want to do cyberpunk colors. Right style, nice. I love the name. The forest fires are pretty rough right now. There's huge chunks of Oregon that are burnt or burning. Where I'm at, I'm on the other side of the river from the big fires. So we're downwind, which means we're getting a great deal of smoke and kind of fogginess right now. But we're not in direct threat from any of the fires. But our air quality is insanely low. Across the river, it's worse. There's untold death and destruction at this point. It's just a hot shit show right now. It's pretty bad. When you go outside, you can, if you're out for any length of time, you start to feel it. Like your throat gets scratchy really fast. It's affecting me like right here. I'm getting a lot of like my eyes feel like swollen and too big, and I'm getting headaches in the morning. But I survive. You know, it could be so much worse. I feel like I'm kind of used to forest fires. You know, spending so much time in LA because this was an annual event, and I was right in the middle of some of those. Like we had the fires up in the San Gabriel Mountains surrounding the San Fernando Valley. I remember a couple of times where the entire sort of crown of mountains that surrounded the valley were all on fire. And I remember one particularly apocalyptic evening, I went up and climbed to the top of the parking lot, which was sort of like a hangar. It was a huge hangar. It was like 4 stories tall, but it was just a parking lot. It was so dumb. It was all this wasted space. But I remember I climbed up the ladder up to the top of the thing, and I was looking out over the horizon, and the sun was like blood red. You could barely see it. The sky was dark orange, and it was raining ash. Like it was like Silent Hill. It was so fucking crazy. But yeah, we survived that, and I think we'll make it through this. It's just we need a rain. We need rain so bad right now. Kinda sucks. I mean, it's bad enough in and of itself, like in having this scratchy throat and stuff, like that kind of itchiness. But compound that with, you know, the complex political situation that we're engaged in right now. It's a hot mess. It's just a shit show. Because it's all connected. Avid, maybe some cyberpunk book cover. Been thinking about getting some book cover stuff in your portfolio. That's a good idea. Yeah, book cover art is a very worthwhile direction to go. I will have to. I'm still thinking about it, but I need to do a book cover for Bloodflower too. But one of the things I really like to do, and I guess that one vertical standing image of Bloodflower is kind of a book cover. I really like to do poster art for my project ideas, and I like to do it early to kind of sell the feel. All right, I've been just mushing color around here for a minute. Actually make some decisions. Decision. I want ruddy olivey color to the skin. That's way too dark before I even make that stroke. I'm not sure who this would be for Bloodflower, but I guess it's you know, a sketch of a character that's in that world. Yeah, kind of the thing with cyberpunk these days, as much as I love cyberpunk, it's like one of my favorite genres. It's also like kind of we're in like post-modern, post-cyberpunk. It doesn't apply anymore. Just as a genre. I love the look, but at this point it's basically retro. I'm curious what the next version will be. What's the next whatever punk? What do you guys think? All right, let's do a quick light pass, and then we'll just start getting in right into rendering. Damn it. Let's go as fast as we can. You want an answer via talking? Yeah, you have to type. You gotta type it all out. Liggins. Welcome, Big Liggins. I like that name. That's fun. It's already getting too pale. I need to have a stronger contrast drop off, which means I need stronger darks. So let's go in real quick and do some accent values and just start carving these things up, because I got to figure out what they're going to be. You can only be sort of design agnostic for so long. You have to start making some decisions. I mean, we're plenty far enough in to start with that. So let's see. I want to... what kind of imagery I can pop through. Let's do... Carla did on her stream this weekend. She was doing some awesome oil painting stuff, like traditional. Very inspiring. I think if I can get the cameras and the lighting set up, I might try and do some traditional sketches and paintings on here too, because I love to do them. It's just it's hard to fit the time in. And these streams are so great because it's basically an excuse for me to just play around, because I'm not doing something super specific. I love it. You only just learned I streamed? Oh yeah, well welcome. Give us a follow, join. I stream 3 times a week right now. And you know, we're just building up the community and getting it started. I really like it though. This is so fun. I love hanging out and chatting and doing some arts together. Always make everybody so angry. It's just because I'm angry inside. Such an angry man. This kind of looks like my dad. It's freaking me out. I gotta stop doing it. Which is basically just a skinny version of me. Yeah. Let's get saturated. Nope, edit. Nope. Nope. That's a little better. I want to switch to something that's going to give me a little bit of color variation. Yeah, that's better. I like doing like a color variant brush for these, like the layout bits, so I can just start mapping in random colors. Get some color variety. Then once it's in, I can color pick from that area and start doing, you know, some variety. Two firsts for you, right? You got to see, oh, that's right. You went and saw the boat. That's true. Post the accident. Yeah, I guess you never actually saw me do any painting when I was in Mexico. Oh, you followed when I was offline. Oh, thanks. Thanks for that. I am super glad you could join us. We need a little bit darky darks. A little darker. Just a little bit. Get some scribbles. I don't know what this guy's doing. I think maybe he's upset, you know, that they don't have the kind of cheese he wants at this deli. Maybe he's ordering, and he's got his little menu right here. It's like, God damn it. It's amazing when you're doing your accent values how if you have a really tight value key, when you start adding your accent values, they can make such a big difference if the key is very snug. And then it's almost like you're carving out shapes. Well, I mean, you are, effectively. Little divots in space. I guess this is kind of going like Mesoamerican cyberpunk already. Best of both worlds. It's like half maggot, half half blood flower. Yeah, the good thing about using a sort of a dark mid-tone, it's not a black for my accent values this early, is that I can go back and forth pretty easily still. Like nothing's totally lost. Even this is much darker. I want this to be like a shelf of something, some kind of material. Maybe wood or metal, I don't know. Comes forward. What do I mean by accent value? What I mean is where you have if you have a value key, which is the sort of the gamut of light to dark that is the range for a specific section. So let's say for the face. So if this is my lightest light for the face, let me use a normal brush so I'm not changing the colors to confuse you guys. So if this is the lightest light and this is the darkest dark, right? Those two things together. Accent values are values that punch those just a little bit further. And they're the ones that I use in order to create visual interest. I normally save them for the very end, but we're going a little bit advanced and I'm doing them kind of in the beginning right now in order to generate the lighting for this thing. So technically I'm using my phrasing wrong for accent values. I'm just kind of carving it up. But the accent values, let's say let's say we had the hand is all done already. So let's just fast forward in our mind and imagine it, if you will. So we've done the hand. It's all been painted out, right? And it's all rendered, and we have all the subtle variations. The lighting is correct. So then an accent value in that case would be to go in and just give little hints of value in places in order to create visual interest, little points that connect. It's like connecting the dots throughout your image so that you have, it'll give it kind of a cohesive follow through for your eye to follow. There are these little bits of details and little bits of visual interest to draw you through the whole image, because that's our goal as image makers, is to manipulate the viewer through what we're working on so that they look at what we want them to look at when we want them to look at it. And you have control over all of that via how you control your the details, the contrasts, the colors, all that stuff. That's you manifesting your control and manipulation of the viewer's experience. So the better you get with these different tools, the stronger effect you'll have in terms of ensuring that your viewer is going to have the experience that you intended. Okay. So because the values here are so dark in general, I need to figure out where I want my light, where I really want my light, and I have to start mapping that out. Since I'm not doing this a la prima, I'm doing this more like I would be doing acrylics, where I can overlay and overlay and overlay. I can make those kinds of mistakes, and it's not a big deal. It's very selective ambient occlusion, but also accent values can be speculars or highlights. So all it is they are values that break your overall value key, and they do it for artistic or design purposes. Does that make sense? I think if I figure out my lighting on the face, then the rest will just sort of kind of fall into place. Always a challenge when you're working with little to no references. You end up doing, and this is actually very much how I paint most of the time, which is why I can be slow even though I paint fairly quickly, is because I will go through maybe 3 or 4 different variations of lighting for a scene until I find the thing that I like. So it's just like I'll know it when I see it kind of deal. And so far this isn't it, but that's okay. I just trust in the process and the logic, and it will suss itself out. Oh, this song is awful. This has to stop immediately. Oh, no, 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 no. Why are you doing this to me? You are hurting my heart. Ugh. Very upsetting. I'm still thinking about the anatomy lessons that I got from the early sketches that I was doing. And although those were all women, I want to try and see if I can carry over some of those features into a masculine character. So really strong cheekbones. That nose shape, which I haven't got yet here. I'm working on it. We'll get there. Usually go with your first lighting idea. Yeah, that's not an unreasonable thing to do. It's just what I tend to try to do is change it up, because everybody gets into a lighting, like everybody has a lighting symbol, a lighting scenario that's basically their lighting scenario. It's just easy that, you know, you don't need to, it's not much of a challenge. So I try to switch it up just to challenge myself and break the rules. Well, not break the rules, sorry, break the mundanity of continually hitting the same kind of lighting. Because everything starts to look the same if you don't push that stuff. I think the ladies had a much weaker chin, so we're gonna really knock this guy's chin back. And really push his forehead back. Oops. Control Shift V to paste in place. Then you don't have to move it around. Such a pain in the ass. All right, let's do a quick liquefy. If we're not gonna crash here. Oh, I didn't notice that was what was happening. Oh wow, that's such a difference in value, right? Okay, let's see. Quick and dirty. That's how I like it. All right. Kind of giving this guy mousy features, which is okay. A little bit of visual difference, character to character, is always a good idea, even if they're not even in the same world. Again, it's the same thing as changing the lighting. You wanna challenge yourself to a bit of variety. Gotta be careful when doing these, like the darks and the whites of the eyes, because it can get cartoony so fast. I've found for myself that the way around that is to make sure that you don't use really light lights for the whites of the eyes. It just needs to be lighter than the iris. When you're painting traditionally, the colors get muddy like this really fast. So my colors are super muddy right now. But I'm gonna work through them instead of doing a start over. Sometimes you just gotta deal with the struggle. Plus, I think it's good to see the struggle. So many artists just make it look like it's super cake. It's not. It takes time. Lots of fuck ups in there. That's the thing that happens is once you get to a certain level, the fuck ups don't look like fuck ups anymore to everybody else, even though you know. So it gets pretty easy to be like, no, I meant to do that. But no, I think every painting, regardless of your skill level, has a dog shit phase. And right now we are all steep in the dog shit phase. It is hideous. But that's all right. We just trust in the system. The logic will get us out of this mess. And if not, I will just throw my table and smash stuff. Because that's how I handle problems. Should have used my, I always forget that these headphones are hot. Mixed with the light. Whoops. This is we're witnessing a pretty strong crutch that I'm leaning on right here, which is to not commit to a really harsh lighting scenario because I'm trying to figure out the anatomy. instead of doing them both at the same time. Cheating. So let's see. Turn off the see that the values are super tight. So I want to make a new layer. I really need to stop pussyfooting around and just make a damn light source. Admittedly, he's looking pretty greasy right now, but what I'm doing is I'm giving myself notes for the light direction. It's basically making big decisions now that I can suss out and smooth the transitions of. One of the things I really like trying to capture in portrait type work is the variety of structure and faces out there. I think a lot of invented concept art portrait work tends to make everybody too beautiful. So one of the things I try to challenge myself with is to kind of find that middle ground, something that feels more natural, you know, where it's a little bit wonky, you know, there's asymmetry, or there's little features that kind of make them more endearing in a way. It's not easy. But there's definitely like places that I feel are most effective at doing this, and in general I kind of treat them, I'll try to kind of make one thing wonky, or one feature that's a little bit off. So like the mouth is a great spot, the nose is a great spot, and the eyes are a great spot for just hints of individual wonkiness, because everybody's got a unique look, right? So with this guy, I think I'm gonna try kind of give him little buck teeth. I mean, if this is meant to be a character from the Bloodflower universe, absolutely, you know, dentistry is not top-notch at the moment in this mythological universe. So I think I'm gonna lean into the face paint look that I started. I make a new layer. Just set it to color. I'm gonna be lazy. Then I can introduce that color in other places. Let's hint at it. All right, keep painting. Let's go back to a new standard layout. When you introduce features that are going to break the norms, you want to, it can't just be like make the tooth wonky. You have to sort of build on the transition to that spot, and all of that together is what makes it feel more realistic. Sort of like we were talking about with creature design. You can't just grab a fishtail and put it on a lion body and just glue them together with Gorilla Glue. You got to make the transition smooth or subtle and logical and feel correct, and you're going to end up with a cool original looking creature. That kind of chimera approach is great for straight up just myth, I guess, but it doesn't work very well when you're trying to go for realism. You may notice that by adding a little bit of warmth, he just suddenly started feeling a little bit more alive. I don't always do this, but I think it's probably a good idea to do it a little bit more regularly, especially if you struggle with skin tones or getting a lifelike feel in your figure paintings, is to add the warmth after kind of figuring out the cools and the grays and the yellows and the greens in skin, because the propensity to try to make something feel alive is to just dump warms into it, and you end up losing the contrast of warm versus cool in skin tones, and everybody will look super orangey or red, really ruddy. Definitely want to avoid that. I'm giving myself notes for a fill light. More of a fill rim, really. Yep, too dark, made it cartoony. I don't like that at all. The shapes were right, but the values were too extreme, I think, for what I'm after. I'm just gonna pull the shadow for that eye and I'll figure it out later, because the nose shape is not quite working for me. kind of thinking that this guy might be like in the Bloodflower universe. He could be a merchant or something. You know, somewhat wealthy. Maybe someone that the nuns need to interact with in the story. Maybe he's a little shifty. Definitely got kind of a shifty vibe to me. I have a pretty. I think what is going on here is I have two different lens depths. So the face is in a wide angle and the body's in a zoom lens. So they're not getting along with each other. It's because I'm figuring out the face before I'm figuring out the rest of the body. So let me match up the body and the face in terms of lens. He's mastered the art of the deal. He has indeed. And his deals are the best in the Pueblo. I needed to resolve for the perspective and match the rest. Okay. Do a new layer. And we can soften that. There. Of course, because I've established now a light source on our side of the picture plane, facing towards him, I need to match that in his outfit. And then the other side needs to kind of drop off into shadow a little bit. A little bit. I don't think I intended that to be cloth. I think that was meant to be metal. So I'm gonna undo that real quick. And I'll give this the cloth treatment instead. Sort of like a headband. Unify your values if things are standing out too much. You can still have the detail there, but by knocking it back, I'm making it more about the face. I was cutting out when I was explaining aligning the head. Oh, okay. So basically what was happening was, let's turn it off so you can see it. His head shape, his head and face in particular are right now in more of a wide angle view, which means like, so some of the features are closer to the camera, and because of the angle of the camera, it's spreading everything out and it's kind of altering the perspective of it. So in order to match his body with the head, I needed to shrink it down and try to diminish some of that spread that happens from a wide angle lens, especially something that's up close. Think like a GoPro or something like that, how it makes the world, you know, gives you that fisheye effect. Well, that's what it's doing with a wide angle, is you're getting a slight fisheye that's changing the perspective. So your perspective is shorter. When you have that longer lens, the perspective it becomes, how do I describe this? Because I'm not a photographer, I don't know the actual word. I don't know the verbiage for those individual things. But having a long lens versus a short lens changes the visual relationship between surfaces of different depths. And when you're looking at like through a zoom telescope lens, what it's going to do is things that are far apart will tend to flatten and look closer together, and then a wide angle is going to push the perspective even further. So things like his nose, if you're looking at a wide angle portrait of a person, their nose and forehead and everything will come closer and more towards you, and then everything else will spread and recede. Does that make sense? And then if you're using a telephoto lens or something like that, you're going to have all of those kind of even out, so that the distance, you know, the inches from nose tip to back of skull will look shorter and more flat. It gives it. I'd say that the wide angle lenses are going to give you more of your dramatic looks. So it's something I've talked about a bit in the Patreon classes, but it comes down to the effect that you're after. If you're looking to make something look dynamic, make it look a little bit extreme in terms of depth, you want to go wide angle. If you want something to look more static, more realistic, then you go for the telephoto lens. I'm using the wrong terms, I know. Somebody will skewer me, but I think hopefully you get what I'm saying. We'll use the longer lenses. I kind of like the idea of having the values wash out on the backside. So whatever this light is maybe there's atmosphere in here. Maybe maybe I'm inspired by the smoke outside, but maybe there's smoke inside his little den of thievery. So what I'll do is I'll make the shadows that are closest to us darker, and this is going to imply a greater depth of atmosphere. Costume wise, I think one of the games that I played recently that really captured some almost that Mesoamerican feel in the armor and in the decoration, just the decor, was Horizon Zero Dawn. I love the costume design in that game. That is such a cool art direction they went with. Like cyber primitive, cyber native. It was super cool. Did y'all play that game? If you haven't, you gotta play that game. It's so fucking good. Love that shit. I can't wait for the sequel. Sequel's coming out soon. Yeah. There's so much to love about that game, and there was only one thing that kind of annoyed me, and that was in a game about sort of metallic robot animals and things like that, and cybernetics and AI, cool shit, is that the main character's name was Aloy. I don't know why that annoyed me, but it did. It's just too on the nose, you know? But yeah, you gotta play it. I think that was one of the last single player games that I played all the way through and loved start to finish. So because I've done this with the values, this means that my nearer to camera value range can be increased. So I can go darker now across the board. I don't know what I'm going to do with any of this. This is all just temporary. I'm gonna have to figure out this other eye at some point. I've had a couple of abandoned paintings on the channel so far, but not many. I hope this won't be one of them. He's certainly not behaving the way I want him to, though. So it could be the expression, it could be the lighting's not sussed out correctly. It could be any number of things. Sometimes when you're just like too deep into the thing, it's hard to see where the failures are at. And that's when it's usually great to get an outside opinion on stuff. I think I have a different angle on this. This is probably what's contributing to that feeling of that wide angle lens, is I have a different angle on the mouth to the rest of the face. It helps a little bit. Let's roll with it, see how it goes, see how it feels. I swear I can hear my dog doing her snoring sounds. She must be right outside the door or something. As if I didn't have enough coffee already today. You digging it, Ligans? Is it Ligans or Ligans? How do you like that pronounced? A lot of subtlety in the micro expressions of the face can be found right in these muscles, right in here. These are like your sneering muscles, the smile, and right on the top. You can't see my mine because I got a mustache to hide it. So I'm very shifty. But the way those can bunch up the skin in very subtle ways can completely change the meaning of different expressions. So mastering the anatomy, particularly of the sphincter of the mouth, is going to be masterclass level for getting your expressions to have complexity and variety. Liggins. Ah, I gotcha. Liggins. Cool. I can do that. Frios, hi, welcome. Glad you could join us. Do I always ask someone to check my work, or do I feel confident that some of the works don't need someone with fresh eyes? I think it's always a good idea to get outside opinions on stuff, but it's very easy to have too many cooks in the kitchen, as it were. If you know that something is wrong and you cannot diagnose it yourself, absolutely stop wasting time and get somebody else to look at it. The other thing that you can do as an alternative is to take a break. Put it away. Part of why you see me flip so much, it must be giving you some of you a headache. I flip like that because it instantly gives me fresh eyes on things. So I don't always take it to other people. My first things to do will be to flip, check the flip. Then the other thing would be to take time away from it, or even like, so I've been fussing with the face for a really long time. The face is way more figured out than anything else. So now maybe might be the time to go in and start painting somewhere else. And this is another way to give yourself fresh eyes when you're not staring at, oops, what's going on there? Oh, it's the wrong value. When you're not staring at the same part for the whole time, when you come back to it, you're going to have fresh eyes. Also, especially if you've been flipping. there's just different ways to handle it. But fresh eyes, whether they're yours or somebody else's, are going to be good ways when you're stuck to diagnose. No pun intended, but a lot of the game is just putting out fires. You make decisions, be bold, commit, and then just try to fix everything you fucked up. That's a huge part of this. And as you get better and more accomplished and you start to learn, it's easier for you to diagnose. It's easier for you to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it. But you're still making the same mistakes in the same way. That's life. That's the life of the artist. You just become familiar with your crutches and your sort of shortcuts. It's like learning an animal, like learning a horse. If you ride horses, you gotta spend time with the animal. You gotta learn the little quirks, and your work is gonna be totally the same. You gotta figure out the little quirks of your work and how and when it's gonna misbehave. For example, one of the things I do all the time, I've mentioned this many times on Twitch in particular, but also in my lessons, is I have a bad habit of repeating shapes and sizes. It's just a quirk of mine, and it's not uncommon. This is a very common issue. So knowing that, I have to check things and go, okay, well, this to this is that length, this to this is that length, this to this is the same length. Oh, I did it again. This image is riddled with rhythms because that's just the way my brain works, and those are the mistakes that I regularly make. So then I go in, I start to recognize, okay, well, I did the rhythm thing again here, so I'm gonna grab this one and commit to the one. I'll get rid of another one, and then maybe I'll change the angle and make it really narrow so that it feels more natural. You just got to figure out whatever your quirks are, and then learn to work with them, correct them when you see them. It's not that I'm committing less mistakes. It's that I'm recognizing the mistakes faster and accommodating faster. I still make the same, if not more, mistakes now than I did when I first started. Like I said, that's kind of the big difference between, someone that's learning and a pro, is that the pro makes it look like they're not making the mistakes. If anything, I hope that makes it more hopeful for you. Yeah, once you post it online, that's when you see everything go terribly, terribly wrong. That is not unique to you. That happens to me also. Do not feel bad. Good. Making mistakes is good. Make mistakes frequent. Just make sure you learn from them. I'm using the Lasso Tool. I use it a lot for this kind of sketching because it's you know, the quick masking thing. It just gives you the sharp edges that you want without a whole lot of fuss. And because I use them with the painting, I think it's really important. And I try to teach my students, you know, hotkeys, and learn them for the different individual tools because it's going to help you get the idea down faster. It is one of the greatest assets of painting digitally is the ability to mask quickly and all the different myriad ways that you can mask. It's incredible. That's one of the best things about Photoshop, in my opinion. Like just using the Lasso tool like this is just one of many, many, many possible ways to do this. I use the Lasso tool a lot, and I use clipping masks a lot, especially when I'm doing character and creature design, as you've seen in previous sessions here on Sketchin with Izzy. What I really like, so I'm a big fan of this brush that I'm using right here. Let's deselect because I accidentally selected. This is just sort of like a simple bristly brush. I think this is one of the oldest concept art brushes in all of Photoshop. I mean, it's been around for years and years and years. So almost every pack that you're gonna find of pro brushes will have it. But I love it in conjunction with the Lasso tool because it makes for those really nice, almost, it feels like a gouache or an acrylic stroke with a flat brush. It's just so nice. It gives you what I like to call a twofer. You're gonna get texture, visual noise, and interest, and then you're also gonna get a little bit of structural information because you can use it to cross contour strokes or to go along with the directionality of whatever it is you're trying to cover up. So it's an amazing little tool. Yet again, traditional. Whoops! Oh, that was weird. Traditional is our friend. So cross contour, right? Okay, so we've been building up to avoid looking at the face for a while. I'm gonna keep doing it actually because I feel like it's a bad idea to just paint one area and focus on it the whole time because then everything else falls behind and then you're playing catch up everywhere, and by forcing yourself to do catch up afterwards, nothing's gonna feel as loved on as that initial bit. Try to build up if you can. I know it's so tempting, you just get fixated, but if you can, build up the whole image all at once. Figure out, see these little tiny weird arms? I made tiny little arms. What is going on there? You got little tiny hooves. Shit, even the placement, like where his elbow's at, is off. Transform selection, boosh. Ah, no! I did the bad stuff. Oops. Select inverted, yeah. I'm telling you, get those shortcuts down. Dan Rob, welcome, buddy. How you doing? Have I tried? I was just talking about Magma Studio. It looks super cool. I have not experimented with it, but I absolutely want to implement it into our Twitch so that we can play some sketchy games together. I think it'll be really fun. So, how was your experience with it? Who were you drawing with? Did you draw with Peter? Yeah, it did look really fun, and I like how kind of inclusive it is. It's a very welcoming little app. Clever. What I didn't like, I just opened it up and just scribbled a little bit, is that it felt like I could not get the pressure sensitivity to work from my Wacom tablet. I'm not sure if that's something that you get with the Pro version of it or something, or I don't know. But I'll look into it for sure so that we can play with it in the future in here on Twitch. You got on a board with a bunch of Riot artists? Sweet. And Anthony Jones. Wow. That's awesome. So I'm back on the face a little bit. I've kind of been working around the rest of the body just a tad. And I still hate the face. So usually when I've messed up the face and the face isn't working, it's gonna be, for me, the eyes or the nose. That's almost always, that's the core problem. So we just commit to a change and start over. I want to and I'll do actually I do this with the mouth too. I like the mouth, so I'm going to keep it, but I will do what I'm doing right now, and then I'll kind of figure out the muzzle shape like that, and then I'll start carving out the mouth again in a different shape. Oh shit. Now see? I like this expression. See what happens? I don't know. We'll leave it for now. Let's give him the teeth again. Yes. I love this guy. Never be afraid to do that, to cover it completely and simply. It's almost like if you're sculpting, right, with clay, and something's just not working out for you, just grab it, smear it out, push it down, put a new clump on there, and start over. You can do that with paint too, and you should. If something's not working, do not be afraid to go in and throw in a new clump of clay and completely change it. I know that it's almost a mantra in this room by now, but do not be overly precious about anything in your artwork. Be completely willing to trash any part of it at any time. But now that I've changed this, I kind of want to change his eyes expression just a little bit and give him a little tiny bit more menace. I find for myself personally, and you may find this too, is that when you're willing to be less precious and you go in and make major alterations, that the end result will be that it will be better. It will be fresher. And I've mentioned this many times, but it's kind of like when you have a file. Let's say you've been working on a painting, and then it gets corrupted, and you lose everything, and you got to paint it again from scratch. This will happen. Once you go pro, guaranteed, and if you already are, I guarantee you it's already happened to you, or your time is nigh. And that is just a crash where you didn't save in time or something like that, and you end up having to repaint everything again. And you will be shocked to discover the second time you painted it came out a little bit better. It was a little bit easier, a little bit smoother to do. And if once you go through that, and it's really traumatic and horrible when you lose hours and hours or days potentially of work, it sucks. Believe me, I know. But once you get comfortable with that experience, it becomes so much easier to just kind of let things fall away and throw things away. Yep. I like it better. I think so. Now let's get in diagnosis mode. I think we're gonna turn this off. What I did wrong with the previous nose is that I had the light in the wrong spot, and it wasn't matching the rest of the face as I had it. Let's take a look. Let's double check and make sure I'm not a madman. Save it real quick. Let's turn this off. Yeah, okay. See, so I have my light source here on the cheek and on the cheek and the orbital bone up above, and even in the creases of the nose and a little bit on the lower chin. And that tells me that my light source is up here from this direction. But then with the nose, I put the highlight in the center, which pinched the nose and makes it feel really pointy in the front. And all of it, it's just not lit in the correct way. So if I were to stick with this, let's make a new layer. If I were to stick with this and try and save what I had originally done, then what I would do is actually just change the direction where the light's hitting it so that it's out here instead. And I didn't see it. It's an obvious mistake right now, but I didn't see it at the time. That's super normal. And I like this better anyway. I like his goofy rat-like face. Kind of an endearing. I think, like I was saying, kind of making the faces a little bit more unique, allowing them to be imperfect, your characters will be more endearing. Even the villains can be more endearing with an imperfect face. I think you're seeing that a lot more nowadays in 3D film as well. The animations. I'm thinking in particular of like How to Train Your Dragon, the series, and how the faces, they're sort of irregular and goofy, but it makes them endearing. They're not perfect. This is definitely kind of more in keeping with that, with the full body image I did with Bloodflower, where she's a little, just tiny bit cartoony. And this guy's just a tiny bit cartoony. my accent values are too strong there. So what I want to do is create a gradation into the value. Will feel more natural. Oh, shifty merchant. Sometimes you just cannot draw ellipses and circles. That's one. I will secede? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. I will accept the statement of the superiority of Cintiqs in only one respect, and that is that it's so much easier to draw circles. I mean, you get used to it with a Wacom tablet, but that was a pretty good one. So what I'm going to do, select inverse. I have no idea what that's intended to be. I will have to figure that out at some point, but that point is not right now. Lightsaber headphones, I love it. Just go like... Funny, I've said this many times when I do characters, I try to make their faces. So I'm doing everything I can not to be like... I don't want to be making that face. Darnus, welcome. You need to make ellipses and try to trace it. Ah, that's a good way to do it. I really love, that's another thing I love about Procreate. They made that work so well. The shape tools, so that they feel more organic and drawn. I think we're gonna have to do inverses here. And I've also said this many times. One of the reasons I really like to paint singular light sources at a time is the reveal. Almost like magic for me. I still love to do it. The reveal of how the form begins to suddenly turn by adding secondary and tertiary light sources. So fun. So let's do a little bit of playing, and let's introduce. Whoops. Let's introduce real quick that other light source and start rounding out this figure. Kind of jump ahead. And the reason I was doing it, I decided to do it now, was so that I could imply the complex structure of his headdress on the far side without having to actually paint it. I do not want to solve for X right now. It can go straight to hell. I just want to paint goofy shit. Just scribbling it on for now. So long as it's there, it will work. Am I just softly using the same color that's up in the corner? No, it is slightly different. I brightened it and I desaturated it because I wanted to get the effect of a light source that's in that color range. So what happens is when we're talking about color, the color of the light is a great influencer on the color of the thing being lit. But unless the light source is sort of an absolute super artificial light source, usually the two will combine. And anytime you mix two colors that are rich, you will end up with a new color that is less saturated than either of the original two colors. So you got to think about that ahead of time. And if you know that ahead of time, then you know that you can introduce sort of a grayer version of whatever that thing might be. Whoop. That's my video card freaking out there. Good times. Okay, so everything is still quite cool and grayed out. I need to... Time to start punching in some accent colors now. Been talking about values so much lately. One of my favorite accent colors to use is a dark, dark magenta. This goes all the way back to me painting with acrylics in college. And it was because I had a tube of, I think it was just called like, God, I can't remember the name of it. It was something magenta. I can't remember what it was. But it was a golden acrylics, and it was only the one brand that had it. And I would use it, I would just straight up use it as a liner. So I'd go in with a really thin round brush and just use that to do my accents in the shadows. I just got hooked on that look. And what I like about it, especially when you're painting on a figure like portraits and things like that, is that it automatically gives it that kind of lived, this is a sack of blood look. It's a little bit animatory, animation-y. That's probably a better word. But that's okay. Toff Freeman, two Freeman, thank you for the follow. Super appreciate it. Glad you're here. And I can do, so what's great about this, using this color like this, is that I can do my accent values now with that color. And what it does when it's in the fleshy areas is it implies a subsurface scattering moment for free. Super easy. I like them freebies. Now, this works over the flesh like this, but you can't do that everywhere. You can't do that here. It will work. I mean, actually, that's a terrible spot because this is a purple color, so yeah, I could do it there. But if I were to do it here, what it's going to do is it's going to break the skin tone. So that as a trick for subsurface scattering in the shadows of the skin tone will no longer read. It'll just read like the line color for everything. It's a great trick. I did it a lot in school. It just started to become kind of almost a stylistic thing, so that all of my figures had these little purple lines, like dark magenta goodness. And I still do it. I mean, if you were here watching me do the creature stuff, I do like, I'll find another color. So whatever that color is, I'll find a rich version of it and do the same. It's a great trick. Right now I'm way too zoomed in, and I think it's going to be affecting my values overall. It's very easy when you're, especially when you're doing faces, you zoom in too much and you start using too many strong darks and you break the value key of the whole face. You gotta be very careful about that shit. Let's get some more light. We've been lighting the face pretty strongly, but now we need to kind of imply a little bit stronger lights on the other parts. So what I did there is I just picked a lighter color of the same hue and saturation, and I hate it. I hate it. If you're gonna go lighter, if you're changing the value, change the saturation and change the hue slightly. Just make it a rule for yourself. Over time and with a bit of teaching, you'll learn which way to go is better in terms of warmer, cooler, which colors to go. But just a base rule, always change those two other things. If you change one thing, change the other two. Always. Unless you're trying to do something that feels monochromatic and slightly dead. Never know, sometimes that does come up. Hey, we're nothing but neat tips here on Sketchin with Izzy. If you want the condensed shit, definitely check out the Patreon. It's more concise, I think. 'Cause on my lessons, I try to make the whole lesson about a tip and then really get in depth on it. But yeah, hang out. We're always learning together here. Hey, changing it at random is better than not changing it at all. With time and experience, you'll learn what to change to, but random is better than nothing. So do not feel bad about that. Thanks for the follow, Darnus. How long is my show for? I average between 2.5 to 3.5 hours. I do my shows Sundays from 5 p.m. on, and I do my show on Tuesdays from 5 p.m. on. And then I have a Thursday show, which is for my UK students and fans, that's at noon. And of course, that's like super late night for them, but the best I can do. I need my beauty sleep. Come on. With looks like these, they need to be cherished gently. I need to wake up with the birds singing my name. On silk pillows, yes. Being fed grapes by beautiful people. I am a very demanding king. No, it's so funny. When I lived on the boat, as Wright can attest, I got up fairly early. When electricity is an issue, you can't stay up really late. So it was weird. Just without even trying, I ended up going to bed earlier and waking up earlier, living on the boat. Whoop. But now that I've got all those delicious luxuries back, now I'm staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning on the regular, playing my vidya. I do love my vidya. I got my first solos win on Call of Duty last night. Fuck yeah. That was a very sweaty game. The last round of it. Oh my god. My hands were shaking. That's so funny. Amazing how it can get that panic effect when you're running around. Too many Verdansk. Yeah. Oh yeah, Surf's Up Cubano. My favorite restaurant in Mazatlan, Surf's Up. I do miss your cooking. But this whole pandemic thing and everything that's going on has been pretty good for me to have to practice my cooking. So that's been good. My knife skills have gotten a lot better in the last several months. I think I've chopped a couple thousand mushrooms and onions now. Do it real fast. And I still have all my fingers. My little meat hooves. This goofy guy. Well, we might as well give in and give him a little bit of a specular here, because I don't know if we'll be able to finish him. Well, it's 2 hours. We got some time. Sharp edges for speculas. Itchy nose. Not supposed to be touching my face. I know everybody's observed that already, but it still shocks me how much we touch our faces. Rib nights and Izzy chats. Hell yeah. I wonder if the rib places are still open on the regular. Do I make the sound effects when I chop? No. I'm trying to be professional. I sit there, shoulders square, head up high, chop, 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 chop. I'm getting to the level now where I don't have to make the noise because the knife actually sounds like it's supposed to. Oh, I know that I'm right at that point where you get overconfident and you take a finger off. It's gonna happen. And the upside, I don't need all my fingers for this job, right? Oh, metallic shortcuts. Where would I be without you? His hands, the arms are still super gimpy. They are not correct. You know what? I'm going to do a select all, copy, paste. New layer. Cool how much the image has changed with the colors and accent values. Yeah. That's the fun part. It's like it slowly reveals itself to you over time, you know? It's important when you're doing sketches like this to constantly reference your proportions, because the proportions have to be in relation to whatever your anchor proportion is. Almost always it's the head, because the head's almost always featured in whatever it is you're going to be painting, especially with character designs like this. So I need to double check. I need to be thinking the whole time is, you know, the head, let's draw in the skull of the head, right? So he's got that, he is a very, he's got the very pronounced back of the skull, right? So if his head is from here to here, give or take, then I need to think about that relationship on his arms too. Especially since they're gonna be, you know, a little bit closer to camera since we're slightly low angle. So I wanna accentuate that and make sure that I'm not breaking the proportion that I have established with my anchor proportions. Good. I already have a skin tone in the face, so I'm just gonna grab it. Try and do big bold shapes first, and then slowly carve them up into smaller and smaller subordinate shapes. That's the whole game right there. That's all you gotta do. Done. Now you can paint. But it is true. That's pretty much the majority of it. I think I made his wrist too long. And since that's all its own layer, right? I can grab the one bit. So remember I was talking earlier about having your quirks, right? Well, one of my quirks is I always make forearms too long and lower legs too long. So everybody's got these kind of long, apey almost things. Some people do have proportions that are like that, but it's a stylistic crutch of mine that I always do that. Like the head relationship to the limbs is always a little janky. So knowing that I do that, I double check. Oh, did I do the thing again? Yup. Once again, I have failed as a man. Cry. Gonna take off. Big Liggins. Hey, I'm happy to answer questions anytime. Feel free to check in the future. Awesome. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. All right. Yeah, it's great when you guys ask good questions like that. Whenever I have to sit and think about questions, then I won't sit here and make faces while I'm painting. Like a fool. Although I think maybe some of you would like to see me make faces. Dan Rob, here's a good question you heard earlier. How do you separate your self-worth from your art? Any personal tips? That is a good question. It's a mixed bag, because when it's not a good idea to measure your worth based on your work is when, you know, you're going to do the most damage to yourself by making that mistake. And then later on, you're not measuring yourself, you're not measuring your worth based on it, but everybody else is, because you've attained a certain level of quality. So it's such a mixed bag. I have pretty different philosophies from most, I'd say, just in terms of life and by virtue of that, art. So I try to be pretty zen about it, and I don't associate any self with the work, or I try not to. That's at least the mantra that I'm after. There's not really any great easy secret to that. It's just it's very much like what I've talked about in the past, not being precious about your work. Well, this carries over to everything in regard to your life as an artist. You can't be overly precious about any of it. There's so much that happens and that can happen that's completely out of your control. So instead of making it a measurement of your value and self-worth, make it an adventure instead. It's like going on a fun walk or a road trip. How you feel on a road trip is how I would want you to feel while you're doing your work. It's just a bit of discovery, the joy of the mystery, and then when you're done for that time. And then you go on the next road trip. It's easier said than done, of course. It's a tough one. Yeah, the people absolutely that need to not measure themselves by their work the most are those in the earlier stages where so much damage can be done. I always worry about people in that position. You can't be precious about it. As precious as things like this are, I mean, when we're talking about, life, right? The moment. So you only have the one resource. You only have one non-renewable resource in all of existence for the entirety of your life, and that's time. So if you can change how you view how you're spending that resource and try to see it, everything, even the hard times, as experiences of, if not joy, just life and presence, it changes the meaning of that thing. If you associate too much, I don't know, if you convince yourself that you got to be better and tomorrow will always be better, you're going to really miss out on right now. And this is true in your artwork too. So you can end up sort of gaming yourself by turning it into this thing where your work is an extension of you. This is the light side point channel. Here are easy things that you can do. Let's not stick with the abstract. Let's go to practical things, because even when I'm thinking about philosophy and personal philosophies on life, I think about it from the practical perspective, rather than a woo-woo spiritual one. One of the best ways that you can help your feelings of self-worth in regard to your work is to make your work and make a big aspect of your work about helping other people. So, and this will help you in every possible way that you can imagine. Helping others with their work will help you. Teach. If you teach, then you have to you have to explain how you do things. You have to think about your thought process and find different ways to explain it to different people, and you will learn it better. So you benefit by doing that. Support other artists. Go out of your way to put in the time. Offer help where you can. These things will help you because these are things that help you and your self-worth that are outside of the art itself. And by virtue of doing that, you are also actually promoting your outward sort of social communal value, because that is kind of what this comes down to is, what can you do for me, right? Well, if you're willing to be out there and to be there for other people and contribute to everybody's betterment, you're making yourself available. You're becoming better by virtue of doing more work, helping people with their projects, but also you are increasing your personal value, your actual contributory value to other people, and they see that. And all this stuff just keeps leveling up on all sides, and all it requires of you really is to just be a good person and to be, caring about the community that you're taking part in. It's really not hard. It's not hard. Just take that time, and remember, that's your one resource. How are you going to spend it? That's why I worry so much about the young autodidacts that come into this profession and they kind of get hopped up on that, work so hard, burn yourself out. Like if you're not constantly sketching, painting, whatever, then you're a failure. That stuff really bothers me. Yes, it is absolutely true that mileage is the key to improvement, but there are so many other aspects to what we do, and the social and that self-worth stuff, that's all vital. It's vital, and it's easily forgotten. And if you're not careful as you make that kind of progression, then yeah, we could be talking about dark side points, right? Oh, thanks for hosting, Darnus. I appreciate that. No, that's great. I really do appreciate it. You focus on the non-art things, you do other activities, have friends. That's great. That's actually really good. One of the things I recommend the most is to do other things and to really follow your interests, focus on hobbies, things that are not art related at all. I cannot tell you how often things that I learned and little obsessions and hobbies that I've had over the years ended up contributing vastly to my value as a concept artist and illustrator. The books that I love to read, the skills I like to develop, diving, anything, you like to play the guitar, go ahead and give yourself that time to do those things and expand yourself, because all of those will contribute. They're all valuable to the greater sum of what you have to offer as an artist. And everything that you add that's outside of that expected skill set is what makes you unique. It's that special thing about you, that special knowledge that you can contribute, and only you can contribute, because it's combined with all these other very special, specific knowledges. And then you combine that with what I was talking about, generosity of that knowledge, generosity with your time, and you will find that you will become invaluable in no time. I know you've probably heard it from other artists in the panels and things like that, but for many of us, you know, I've been in a hiring position many times. What of course I look at portfolio, but one of the things that I care far more about is how you will work in a group. What's your personality dynamic in regards to problem solving with others, with you know, how do you manage, how do you lead, what are your leading style, what's your leading style, that kind of stuff to me is just as important, if not more important, than your portfolio. I can, if I've got a really good generous person that is really eager and they want to be putting the time in on that stuff, I can teach you the other things. Skills are one thing. They're a base thing and they're necessary, but there's all these other aspects that just don't come ready-made. Oops. Bloody hell. Too much talky, not enough drinky. Drinky. With the smoke, yeah, my throat is just constantly, it feels sore, but without the aggravation that you get from an actual sore throat, you know? It's weird. It's just like that tension. Makes it a little hard to swallow. You wish you were less boring? It's not, it can be anything. I mean, so I've mentioned this before. One of the most important secondary skill sets or hobbies that I recommend to students and to, you know, juniors on my teams is to take up role-playing games. I bet you weren't expecting that one, right? Well, role-playing it's basically, it's push-ups for your pretend muscles. It's great exercises to help you as a concept artist, as an illustrator, as an ideator, right? You're getting to exercise problem solving, design issues, all sorts of things. And I don't mean just in art, I mean in just everyday stuff. And that's, many would consider sitting at a table and rolling dice to be kind of boring. I disagree. That's right, Evan. Rolling dice in bed. Wait. Ooh. We got dirty birdies in here. Yeah. Hands are always complicated. I try to, whenever I'm painting hands, I try to simplify as much as possible. If I can get away with doing something in a single stroke, I aim for that. My models for this are absolutely like Sargent. I love how Sargent paints hands. Just that it's like a stroke and then a little bit of blending and boom, rendered hand. So good. So, how's it going, MMA? How you do? We are painting a merchant guy for Bloodflower, I think. I don't know. I don't know what's happening anymore. It's high on life, guys. That's not true. It's totally acid and mushrooms. Sweet hallucinogenics. Getting bombed on by the smoke? Yeah. Yeah, we're just talking about it. It's pretty brutal right now. Like I'm freebasing juniper trees. It's very easy when you have kind of a handle on anatomy. It's super easy to over accentuate, and then everybody looks like they're ripped. But one of the things I find myself doing a lot when I'm painting is trying to knock back the definition that I know is there. This happens a lot in the faces for me, a lot in the arms, the chest and the shoulders. Just because I know where those things are, I end up over accentuating them. He seems like he needs a big forearm. It's possible. But he's kind of the weaselly merchant. He's got to have his little pen. Of course he's got a pen. A pen right there. A little stylus. Some kind. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I'm just stumbling around. Oh man, I love me some lady techno. The amount of I'm thinking I should probably tuck up this finger. Yeah, why not? I don't know. Need a little ambient occlusion, little cast shadow action right here. Right up in here. One of the ways I really like to denote weight, like if somebody's leaning on something, is to fold skin right at a pressure area. So something like that's what I was doing right there. The obvious solution would be to just, okay, all right, well, we just got to light the bottom side, right? And then we've got, got our form shadow. Actually, let me put this on a new layer. Oops. So we would just describe the form shadow like that, right? And then maybe a reflection. And then we'd be done. And yeah, technically that would work. It tells everything. But I think one of the most important things when you're trying to sell a figure is to show weight and gravity, like show flesh bunching up, pushing against things, the creasing that happens, because that lends, those little details are the ones that really they go beyond the technical ability of lighting something and take you into the realm of the thing feeling more alive, more animated, even though we're not dealing in animation right now. But it's much like animation in that you're thinking about the little ticks, the little behaviors that you want to capture. So hinting, instead of focusing on a reflected light, which we can still do, by hinting that there's a little bit of flesh being pressed back against that material, it gives us weight on the whole arm. Can do. So I did not know this until I started doing some studying for the Bloodflower project, but the Mayans had books. They had a very specific style of book. We always associate books. Whoops. We always associate books with specific cultures and things like that, but you would be wrong. The Mayans totally had books, but their books were instead of having bound books, their books would be what we call a fold-out book. They were more like maps and pamphlets. So the books would be folded, and then you would open them up into these big, longer shapes that would tell the stories and things like that. Super cool. I mean, and of course it's going to be parchment or lambskins, things like that. I think they used a specific kind of tree, like mogwai or something like that. I can't remember. And it would not be as white as what I just made, but it's a sketch. What do you want from me? Also, he has a lightsaber on his head, so whatever. Oh no, I'm out of music. This is a travesty. Music, where did you go? Miss your face. There we go. What is the Bloodflower project? That is my new current story project that I decided to put together specifically for Twitch so that everybody could follow along. Basically, what I've done is taken an old story concept that I was going to pitch when I was working at Sony Santa Monica as a sort of anthological style sequel to God of War. This was back when right before I left to go and live on the... Well, no, actually it was even a year or two before that because I was doing freelance at that point. But essentially, it's a mythic... it's the story of the birth of a god. It's the Immaculate Conception, but told in like an ancient mythic version of Mesoamerica, with all of the visuals and the sort of religious points from that area. So it's a super sacrilegious thing I'm doing. But yeah, so I wanted to use a story that everybody knows, and the Immaculate Conception is a pretty well-known mythic tale. It's, if you think about it with any logic, it's super fucked up. So that's kind of fun. And yeah, I thought I would just try and find a new way to piss a whole lot of people off real fast. Because it's what I do. Are the times listed in my description Central? No, they are Pacific Standard Times. But they change, I think they changed to your area. So if you're Central, then it will be that time Central. So I'm doing Sundays and Tuesdays at 5 p.m. until tired, and Thursdays at 12. That's Pacific Standard. So if yours says a different time, then it's because it's already catered specifically to your time zone. Yeah, I cannot do... I'm going to have to... Let's see if I can find something that will... I am not a Californian currently. Technically, I am now an Oregonian. I'm even registered to vote here now. See, and I just keep making it more of a... No, Izzy. Stop. Stop it. All right. It's all sci-fi, and this can't be sci-fi right now. Not what I'm after. I've decided to let this be a blood flower thing, so it's going to be a blood flower thing, goddammit. So instead of big metal things, what should this be? This should be... Let's do some kind of earring type shape, maybe. Or we'll bring the headdress down into this. Just like the nose, I'm just gonna make some big decisions here. Let's make it jade. This is a great thing when you have a separate layer. You can get the shape that you want, just paint it in as a whole, and then just erase back out so that you're not actually covering anything up. Of course, this is completely breaking my perspective, so I'm going to transform that bit. I want this to feel like it's pointing slightly in the other direction. And we'll just do the same thing. We'll cut that out. Okay, that's a little bit better. I don't have any of the... Unfortunately, I have no reference right now of these sculptures, like the really cool jade and stone sculptures. So it's something I'm going to have to just like make a note of, that this is kind of what I want visually, and then come back to this later. Because I would love for this to be like a figure, you know, like a little, you know, maybe skulls. Something like that. I don't know. And this could be, you know, like a peyote button. Oh shit, I think it's 5, right? It's like a pentacle almost. So just for now, marking out the little ambient occlusion spots. Little hints of it. Because I don't need it. I don't need it to be super super detailed right now. It's just note-taking at this stage. But if I can get the material to feel correct, then you know, it'll hide a lot of my crimes in terms of the design of the thing itself. Hi, Ermagerd. Thanks. How you doing? You been enjoying the Lightbox shows? See anything really great out there? Oh yeah, this guy's got neck muscles. And then we would do the same thing. Let's grab that color and let's grab a sharp brush. A little too bright for this area. Tone it down just a tad. You're, you're enjoying the pocky lips? Yeah, this shit's hectic. I think maybe it's I like that their cylinders like giant beads, you know? That's kind of what I'm thinking of, is just these massive beads made from jade. Let's get just a touch darker for our accents. My ellipse is not right exactly, so copy paste. We're gonna do a little quick transform, try and get it a little bit more in the right position. Oop, that was not a copy paste. That was not emergency. Copy paste. There we go. It's about to be real bad, gang. Real bad. Nope. 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 Behave, you son of a... Alright. That's a little better. Still wrong, but it's a little better. Part of what makes... When you have an ellipse that's not working, it's almost always not just one, it's two. So because I wanted to flatten that one out a little bit, what I will do is the opposite for this one. And somewhere in the middle, they shall meet. Whoa! Zoom! Oh yeah, I'm going for it. Yes. Yes. Pretty personal question. How much do I make being a freelance illustrator, and what percentage of my income comes from freelance? Currently, say, so I do maybe like 500 a month on Patreon, maybe 200 from Gumroad, so not very much on the teaching side. For illustration, it's entirely dependent on how much work I take in. The average, so like the Wizards commissions in particular, you get most of the time you're going to get no more than $1,000. So in terms of like pay versus the effort put in, Wizards is tough because it's what you're really getting more is the recognition and the glory of working with Wizards, because it's not the most competitive pay when you consider how many hours you'll generally put in on an illustration, especially when you're starting out. So combining all of those things, you can sort of vary it up. When I was on the boat, it was not unusual for me annually to only pull in, like 50K, 60K, but also my cost of living was super low. It wasn't expensive at all to live in Mexico. So with that, I was able to earn what I needed to in order to get by, and I still didn't need, I was still able to take a lot of time to kind of do what I wanted to do. Being back in the States, I can't keep doing that. So now I'm looking for more significant employer, more significant freelance. That means that we're going to have to talk about several tens of thousands more just to get by, because you want to be making, ideally you want to be making, if you're working any job, you want to be doing, I think, what do they say, 3 times your rent, which is, that's such an ask now with rent being as expensive as it is. So yeah, that'll be the goal, is definitely more than 50K. It'll have to be, my starting when I was at Neversoft was 75, and that was really good for me at that time. It was more money than I ever made in my life. So I think that range is reasonable. But what you want to do instead of thinking specifically just about the rate that you're going to be making, think also, possibly even more importantly, about the cost of living that you have, meaning where you live, how you live. Those all need to come into part of this. It's not just your salary or your freelance rate. All of that stuff comes together in order to give you your quality of life, and you can play that smartly and conservatively, or you can be a little bit more kooky with it. It's up to you. But where I come from, how I grew up, I have been super conservative with, if money was ever a question, then I would play it really, really conservative in my cost of living. So I think it's a game of smarts, and then you can probably survive with pretty much any rate, but you got to be willing to tighten the belt in other ways. Such a great resume and a portfolio. That's not really how it works. I mean, in the end, we're all still kind of working towards, you want to be getting paid what you feel you're worth, and sometimes that's not the jobs that you want to get will not necessarily coincide with that pay. Wizards being a prime example. There's a lot of companies like that where they know that they are a commodity. They offer benefits in other ways. So there's lots of different ways to consider success, right? It's more than just the money. You want to think about, and this is different for every person. So you're going to have to sit and have a heart to heart with yourself. Is money the goal? Is glory the goal? Is fame? Is stability, family, relationships? What is it that you need to feel successful? And it's going to be different for you than it is for the person sitting next to you. And what you want to do is align your lifestyle, align the work that you take with that goal. And there's no right answer. It's totally going to be individualistic. What is that, right? Is that William? So I hope that answers your question, Avid. You've heard that some companies underpay illustrators because they know that everyone wants to have a Marvel cover. Yeah, honestly, that's just the way it is. And it's not just art companies. This is the essence of commodity-based labor. So we have, if somebody has something that you want, they know that they can make you work a little bit for it. This is the essence of leverage, right? They have leverage. They have something that you want, which is that glory. They have the projects that you can tell somebody and they'll know what it is. That's huge. And for a lot of artists, it can be the most important thing. For a while, it was the most important thing to me, was to work on big projects that I would feel satisfied that I had the glory and the fame. But in the end, once I got those things, I was like, oh, well, actually, this isn't necessarily that satisfying either. I think there should be unions everywhere. I'm super pro-union. Just so long as it's not mob-style unions. Not co-op, but worker representation and stakeholder meetings, things like that. Co-ops. I'm very leftist in that respect. Which is not something employers like to hear. That's another thing. I mean, when we're talking about compensation, if you're looking for a company that shares your values, you're going to be a lot happier. If you're at a company that is more willing to help the workers, it's about educating the worker, making sure everybody feels invested, that everybody has ownership and agency in the work that they do. If you can find companies like that, you probably won't be paid as much, but you will have less stress headaches and you won't grind your teeth in your sleep. So there's trade-offs. It's quality of life. It's like everything else. Like I was saying, it all comes back to kind of the same thing. Is you have one resource that you can trade. When you're getting a salary, they are paying you literally for chunks of your life. Do with that as you will. How much is your life worth to you? Yep. Happy to help. I think, especially when you're a student, and I think this was one thing where I felt really lucky, is that as a student, I already had a pretty solid understanding and relationship with the inevitability of death. And it allowed me to focus where I wanted to, when I wanted to. And I've only just tried to grow that relationship and understanding so that I have a perspective that I'm happy with on how I do things, on where I spend my time. Considering my experience, do I receive job offers? Both. I mean, it's always best to capitalize when you are a hot commodity to get the job offers. That will come and that will go. And it's very much dependent on sort of the leverage position you have. So perfect example of this was when I first left Sony, people came to me. I basically just announced that I was going freelance on Facebook, and I just started getting offers. But that was because I just left working on God of War at like one of the biggest AAA studios out there, right? Now, I have been out of the game for years and years, and I've come back to the States, and I want to get back into a studio position, but something much less demanding, something where I can have my time. That's the lesson I learned while I was out there on my boat, is that the time is really, that's everything. That's all you got. So I want something that's cool, but also will be more understanding of that. So when I started searching after getting back to the States, I did the same thing. I just put out a notice saying, hey, I'm looking for work, blah, blah, blah. And the response was much more marginal than it was that first time, because at this point, I don't have any leverage. I don't have obvious value. I've been out of the game for so long that there's a generation of artists that don't even know anything about me, or maybe they would recognize the work, but I'm virtually nobody, and that's okay. I mean, you must become comfortable with the ebb and flow of where you are and your growth as an artist. It's like understanding your role and how your roles change throughout your life. You're gonna have your student times. You're gonna have your teacher times. You're gonna have your prime of life. This is the most valuable I'll ever be in terms of production times. You're gonna have your wizened elderly times where you have experiences to share. And each time these new hats come to you, take them and enjoy the experience of doing that thing. So I'm basically, what I would say is I'm past my prime in terms of production, but that's all right. I still have a lot to offer. I can still teach. I can lead. So I have experience with these other things. Sure, my art's not as hot shit. I mean, there's so many better artists out there that are like half my age, and they are just kicking ass. And that's great. That's okay, because there's still place for me out here. There's still a role, right? So when you're going through your path, through your journey, take the role that you have, perform it to your best, because your time on the stage is limited, as we've been talking about. Yeah, it's totally reasonable, I think. I love that monobrow. I'm taking it to the grave. I think for myself and for a lot of people, the greatest source of our own miseries is the struggling against things as they are, not accepting the present as it is, longing for a future that isn't here, or longing for a past that isn't here, obsessing or fearing about a future that isn't here. So that's primary source of misery for pretty much everybody. You can get out of it. If you can get out of that loop, you're going to be so much happier. It's not that misery is good necessarily. It's that misery is a result of you obsessing over a condition. So if you accept the condition, then there's really nothing to be miserable about. If you lean into it as if you've chosen it, then why would you be miserable? I know that's easier said than done, obviously. Otherwise everybody would do that. But it's the philosophy I try and fail often, but I try to adhere to. Yeah, exactly. Ah! He's got to have those crazy. I love wizard eyebrows. I'm a huge fan of like just crazy, errant eyebrow hair. I got a couple. I'm trying to grow them out, but they're just staying there. They're not getting any bigger. But they're like double the length of the other ones. I'm so excited about them. I'm easily entertained. Oh my goodness, would you look at that? We have been painting and chatting for almost 3 hours. And I lost track of time with all of my bullshit. You should never listen to me. Because I am a liar. I cannot be trusted. Everybody's a liar. Boop. Bloop, 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 bloop. You can always count on me to lie. So for next phase with this thing, since it's still fairly early in the illustration process, if I were to take this to a finish, where I would go is start introducing other light sources and introducing patterns and things like that, start carving up these different forms, because I've got a lot of big shapes and big sort of, I don't know, rhythms going on, but there's nothing really defined in them yet. So really figuring out how these things connect, the insertion, the origin, things like that, for the bits of cloth, for his vest, for his collar. All of that needs to be sussed out. But everything raw is there. It's all set out. So I would do the detailing, and I would definitely introduce other light sources. Start bouncing the lights from his face onto the jade, because it's a very reflective material. The bottom of the jade needs definitely to have details. And all of that stuff is going to round out the forms and make it really work. But, we ran out of time. I just talked too much and noodled too much. That's what I do. Richard Wright. I don't know. I don't think so. All right, gang. Well, I will have to shut this down now. And we can all join each other on Tuesday at 5 my time to continue. I don't know. Would you guys be interested in seeing me finish this up or see something new? What do you reckon? I could probably finish this up on my own with a couple of hours of time. But some of you do like to see the thing taken to completion. Yeah, you want to finish it up? Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, it's good to get more assets in for the Bloodflower project. So I have not been super timely with that. I should have probably like 15 illustrations done by this point, but I've had so many other projects to work on. I'm way behind on my magic cards. I got to do that right after getting off of here. All right, gang. Thanks so much for hanging out. It was super fun. Hopefully you found it useful, learned some shit, had a good time. As always, until next time, paint smart, paint sexy.
I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work. Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster. As we grow into artists, we must learn to throw away symbols and begin to draw and paint what it is we actually see. And as we grow further, we learn to paint beyond what we see and what is actually there. Until finally we move beyond this and learn to trim away what is actually there so we voice only what we want. With me, you're going to have to buckle in and maybe take some pain meds, because I'm going to rip out your normal person's eyes and replace them with a painter's eyes. I'm going to restructure how you see and how you understand what you're seeing. I'm going to turn you into a painting machine. Truly, anyone can learn to paint realistically if they can both determine what they're seeing or imagining with basic and straightforward rules. Once you understand the mechanics of light, color, and form in reality, you will have the capacity to paint anything you can see or imagine realistically. After that, the real fun begins. Here are some of the ways you can join me and master the logic of light and color. The very first lesson of my series is totally free on my YouTube channel. In that lesson, I give you the 3 primary rules of light that are the very foundation of painting and understanding light itself. If you do nothing else to make your painting mastery easier, at least watch this amazing little lesson. It will do more for your basic understanding of light than just about any tutorial you can find. When you're ready to get deeper and you feel like you have those first rules figured out, allow me to utterly blow your mind with the next episodes available on Gumroad and ArtStation. As we go deeper into the rules underlying the logic of light and color, I carefully and simply explain important and interesting elements. From beginner to pro, there is an amazing amount of information available. Each concept has been distilled into the clearest explanation you're likely to find anywhere. Like episode 2, where we cover the atmospheric effect and how that relates to light, scale, and distance of objects in reality, and how to render it. Or episode 3, where I hand over the ultimate key to controlling value in your paintings. Episodes 5 through 8 are all about rendering materials. Want to understand the logic behind rendering metal, leather, hair, transparency, damn near anything. I even cover the logic behind painting special effects like fire, neon, or lightsabers in later episodes. The lessons just get deeper and more detailed as I build on the foundations covered in preceding episodes. The 10th gives you the most important rule of composition you'll ever learn to keep your images interesting. The next few episodes cover important painting techniques like my edge control ninjutsu or simplification with the large to small system. We dip a toe in color theory, devote a few episodes to finishing full-blown illustrations utilizing the techniques we've learned so far. Some episodes, like the lighting game or Advanced Exercises 1, the shirt, present cheap, valuable and practical exercises to give you explosive growth in your development. Episodes 22 through 25 cover painting and illustration, just like I do for Magic the Gathering, from assignment and inception to signing the painting at the end. Each one is full of tips, knowledge, everything to make working as an illustrator easier. Did you enjoy learning how to paint basic materials? Metal, wood, and such? I got 3 whole episodes devoted to the intricate logic behind painting different kinds of skin. After that, more lessons devoted to pumping life into your portraits and original methods for accurately drawing faces out of your head. From fundamentals to photo bashing, Gumroad and ArtStation have every lesson I create available for purchase a la carte. But here's an even better way to learn with me. Stay current with my latest lessons on Patreon for the lowest price available. Monthly support gets my student that month's lesson, a critique or paint over of their finished work, a discount code for 25% off the entire Gumroad archive, and access to the Logic of Light and Color Discord community, where we plan future lessons, share knowledge, and learn together as a team. The absolute best method is to join my Patreon classroom at the Student Plus tier, where you'll get everything I just mentioned and a free episode from the archive every month to accelerate your mastery at your own pace. You've decided to take control of your painting and master Izzy's logic of light and color. Now it's up to you to choose the path that's best for you. I'll see you on the flip side. Paint smart, paint sexy.